Welcome, everyone, to the Lesma Ellis Foundation's first 2025 webinar. Tonight, we dive into the topic What's in Your House? Balancing Career and Entrepreneurship, where our speaker will share insights on successfully managing a thriving career while building successful businesses. So, just a little background on our speaker. Abigail is a human resource officer who believes in the power of excellence and dedication. With a master's degree in human resource development and a bachelor's degree in the language and communication from the University of the West Indies, she has built a career focusing on HR compliance, employee development, and corporate training. Her professional journey reflects her commitment to delivering high standards and fostering growth through continuous learning and strategic execution. Beyond her HR career, Abigail is an entrepreneur managing two successful businesses. She is the founder of Abby's Kitchen JA, a catering company known for creating memorable culinary experiences, and Beauty of Holiness, a makeup artistry brand dedicated to enhancing confidence and elegance. Her ability to balance these ventures while maintaining a thriving career demonstrates resilience, discipline, and a strong entrepreneurial spirit. Abigail's journey highlights the importance of faith, perseverance, and passion in achieving success and inspiring others to pursue their goals. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Abigail Ford.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rashida. So eloquently done. I really am grateful for the opportunity to be here this evening. And I hope that, we will all enjoy our time here together. Listen, a biography can really just hype you up, just make you feel like, all these big things are going on. But glory be to God. I'm happy to be here this evening. So, the anticipated what's in your house, balancing career and entrepreneurship. Before I continue, you guys are able to clearly see my screen and hear me clearly? Yes. So, we're diving right in. All right. So, I randomly selected people who, you know, people I liked, right? If we were supposed to look at these varying, persons, if we were supposed to group them in one category, what would you refer to them as? What phrase, what would you call these random people, here? What is common among them? So we have Oprah, we have Martin Luther King Jr., we have Mahatma Gandhi, Albert Einstein. I remember somebody seeing this picture and saying, "Who is this? Who is that man that looks so crazy?" That is Albert Einstein. Miss Lou, Bush Stewart, Usain Bolt, Bob Marley, the legend. We have Michelle Obama, and it, some persons right now maybe it may be controversial to wonder if this lady should also be in the pack, but I think she should be. Paula Llewellyn. Yes. So let's just think for a minute, even if it is that you're not responding. Let's just pause and to just think about these persons on our screen. So we have a mixture of men, a mixture of women. You know, seems quite interesting. I would call them great men. So yeah, great men, great women, but I would refer to these people when I see them, I'd refer to them as great men. Some are dead, some are still alive, but whether they're dead or alive, their legend, their legacy, sorry, lives on. So I have a question and I want someone to respond. I don't know if anyone who knows me is online who wants to respond to this, but I want to hear what are your thoughts? Were great men born or were they made? I really would love to hear some response to this. So we have Oprah, Albert Einstein, Bush Stewart, Bob Marley. When you think of these men, these great women, Do you think they were born great men, great women, or do you think they were made? Anybody can open the mic and just tell me. I want to hear. I want to hear the thoughts, man. I don't want to just be speaking to just teaching you. I want to hear what's going on. What do you think?
And for those who are a little shy, you can type your responses in the chat and I can read
Definitely.
them for Abigail. So go right ahead, guys.
You can definitely type them in the chat. We have no thoughts.
Well, we have one from Weston. He says, I think they were made through their individual experiences.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. So no one feel like great men were born?
Well, Ainsley has his
I
hands
agree
hand.
about the fact
Okay.
that they were born that way.
Okay.
Individually, their circumstances have led them to that particular path, in the sense that Martin Luther King was born at a particular time, so his situation would be completely different if he was born today. He wouldn't be worrying about a Twitter feed or a social media post. He would have been worried about civil rights at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all about where you were born. Because I think there's a funny argument being made now in a world where we argue that we've destroyed the earth to a point where we're too old to explore space, too young to explore space, but too old to explore the entirety of Earth. So it's a funny little argument about the time that we're in currently.
Mm. Very
But
intriguing. They were
yeah,
born. Yeah, and your stance is that great men are born. I want to hear from somebody else. I see hands going up.
Well, in the chat,
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
seeing S Wisdom. They were made, of course, depending on their experiences, environments, etc. Then they made a name for themselves later on.
Okay, so your his stance is that they were made. His or her stance is that they were made.
Correct. I think
All right.
Ainsley wants to go ahead.
Go ahead, Ainsley.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, hearing you clearly.
Sorry, I was trying to get in time, but uh, time catch up on me.
Were great men born or were they made? Anybody else wants to go? I see other hands up quickly.
All right, I'll go ahead. I believe that all men are great. It's
Hmm.
just based on the path that you decide to choose. The scripture says, "Many are called, few are chosen," and I think that if all right, so you have two paths before you: the path to fulfill your purpose, which is great, and then the other path, which is so easy. You can just lay back and go about your day to day and not focus on changing the world for the better. So it just depends on the choice that that specific person makes
Hmm.
that will determine whether or not they are great. That's what I believe.
Hmm. That's a very interesting turn. So you're saying that they are both made and born?
Yes, so a little bit of both. So no
Mhm.
one is born with greatness, but their decisions would determine whether or not they actually fulfill that greatness.
Okay. Rashida, can you read that comment that just popped up? I didn't get to see it fully.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Tahila.
So I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this name correctly. Please forgive me. Athalia Brown. Yes, I think that great men are made in the adversity where their character is refined to what is societally viewed as perfect or strong and resolved is strengthened. So it's like through trials and tribulations, they discover their inner fortitude and
Hmm.
develop different virtues like courage, compassion, and wisdom.
I love that. That response sounds very philosophical, and I love it. I was a philosophy minor, so some keywords are jumping out at me that I truly do love. So a story is told by the great John Maxwell about some Americans going through a village, a old English village, and they, you know, they looked at the edifice, they looked at the buildings, and they were just in awe of the history that were stored in these large beautiful buildings. Have you ever like just imagine with me, they're walking through the village, they're seeing all these buildings with all this history, and they're just mesmerized, and they're just like, incomplete in awe. And while walking, they would come up on a elderly man. So they said to him, "Sir, there is so much history built into this place, so many great monuments. It is so beautiful. Everything is quintessential, very picturesque. Were any great men born here?" And the old man looked at them and said, "Great men weren't born here. No great men were born here. None. We have no great men that were born here. Only babies." It's a very interesting story. And the first time I heard it, I was just like, something to really think about. The discussion as to whether great men were born or made is a decade. It's been a debate for decades upon decades upon decades. But what I can agree with, that whether we are uncertain or sure that great men were born, we can all be sure that babies are what we have that are born. What does this truly mean? Anybody can be great. Like Tahila, you just run ahead of me like you want to present my presentation. I realize. But yes, I do believe that anybody can be great. So when it is that we refer to a great man, I think of, and a great man or a great woman, I think of a person of influence, someone who has, accolades and achievements, who have done great things, who, whether dead or alive, are acknowledged for the work that they do, and the impact that they make on this world. In your own lives, you may have various great men and great women that you look up to. So I want to ask, what then makes the difference between an ordinary man and a great man? I want to hear some feedback on that. What do we feel like is the gap there, the disparity? What causes the difference between an ordinary individual and a great man? Just two persons.
I'll go.
Sure, go ahead.
Ordinary and great. I think as a male myself, I think there is this real dichotomy in trying to figure out what that really means, in the sense that ordinary is typically defined as the sense that everything that you've done falls within the mean, while great is outside of that. It could be both connotative negatively and positively, because it can be a great person in the positive sense and a great person in the negative sense. But we're leaning towards the positive. So it's all about trying to find that what that distinctive characteristic is. And it could be as simple as that one choice you made in that one classroom that one time. You decided to take the advice of that one person that said to you, "Hey, bring this pencil on this day," and it changed your life completely. So I think while ordinary isn't a bad thing, mathematically speaking, most people are ordinary. Everyone can be great. Everyone can be a leader. Everyone can be president.
Mm-hmm.
So I think while we talk about greatness and try to find this way to placate people who fall under the ordinary category, I think what we should really be looking at it from a point of view of is people who are great should serve as inspiration, but we should not also leave the ordinary person behind as well.
I love that, Kevin. And while you were speaking, I heard a lot of statistics coming out from your conversation. You even started to think about or go into, probably referring to great men as outliers. And the truth is, it's not that crowded at the top. The great the great people are usually one in a million. They're usually the smallest of the set, the smallest of the group. I completely agree with all that you've been saying, especially the point where you made referring to the fact that one small decision can make that difference between an ordinary man and a great man. Thank you so much for your contribution. Anybody else?
Yes,
Yes,
Shamilia.
good night, Alko.
Mhm.
Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, hearing you clearly.
Okay, so in my perspective, an ordinary person is one with a fixed mindset. Like they don't strive to be different in any way. They just settle for what they know and what they're accustomed to. While a great man is ambitious and inspirational and strives to be different and have goals and aspirations that they aim to attain, or well, big goals, like overly ambitious,
Hmm.
aiming for greatness.
I love that. So, one thing that jumps out to me, what truly makes a difference is the goals that are set. Sometimes ordinary persons, or what I would refer to as ordinary persons, they're okay with going with the flow. They're okay with taking what comes and going with the flow. Anybody knows the analogy, the Plato analogy of the cave? Anybody online is aware of that analogy that Plato gives about persons within a cave? Anybody? Nobody? All right.
Nobody.
That's okay. That's okay. So I won't spend the time to go down into it. You can research it at your own time. But the persons in the cave would refer to them as the ordinary. And the ones who dare to step out of the cave and to go find a different life what is what I would refer to as a great man. So go research Plato, the cave analogy when you get the chance. That's not what we're focusing on this evening. Thank you so much for your responses.
Before you
I
move
think
on, Abby, we have one more person, Athalia.
sure,
So
go
she
ahead.
says, an ordinary person would be driven by comfort, conformity, and self preservation, but a great man is propelled by conviction, courage, and a
Mm,
commitment to a higher purpose. So
yes.
the ordinary person seeks stability and security,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the great man embraces uncertainty and risk,
Uh,
fueled by a passion to create, innovate, and transform. The main difference would be in mindset, values, and vision.
Thank you so much. And the word that jumps out to me there is the commitment, the commitment, the willingness to take risks, the willingness to be different.
Hello, can I speak now?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, well, the first, the great man, he knows how to get things done. Like he takes shortcut, but the other man, he take his time to achieve. Take his time to achieve the goal. Take his time, cause he want to do things the right way. Cause the great man can do things and get that trouble same way. But the other man, he taking time. Cause he study strategy, planning and schedule what to do. The great man, he just go fast ahead to what he's doing. So he will achieve more than you because the other man take time, and the great man is a speed. Very, he died at time.
Okay, interesting. So what I pick out from what you're saying is great men know how to work smarter and not harder. Great men will
Yes.
probably try to think out of the box to try to figure out how to get something done in a more efficient way. I take your point. Thank you. All right. So, on the same vein, in 2 Kings 4, verse 1 to 7, I'm a woman of faith. As I share, as I present, you learn a little bit more about me. I as I ponder on this scripture, we find Elisha and a widow woman who was poor, 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 the poorest of the poor, the poorest of the poor, right? She don't have any money. Her husband had died, and her husband had served Elisha. And in these days, if your husband died, you had no money because the context in which this story was written, because the husband was the breadwinner. Her son was only a child. She had creditors. She had people coming to her saying, "What my money, there, miss? Miss, I need my money. I don't care about your sad story. I don't care that your husband is dead. I need my money." So she found herself in a difficult position, and she came to Elisha. She was in need, and she came to Elisha because she was familiar with him, because her husband would have served him. So she came to him, and Elisha looked on this poor woman and said to the poor woman, "What can I do to help you? Tell me what you have in your house." So let's picture this. Let's pull back. Let's picture this. So imagine, I know this man. I'm in a dire situation and I'm familiar with this man and I feel like this man can help me because my husband used to serve him. So I got to see what can work out. And
Mm-hmm.
I go to him and I say, can you help me? I'm in need. And he looks back at me and says to me, what do you want me to do to help you? First of all, I would catch an attitude. I'd be like, if I knew what to do, I wouldn't have come to you in the first place, sir. And then on top of it, you're asking me what I have in my house. I'm not understanding, sir. I'm not seeing where this is going. And she replied, well, she seemed to have replied nice, but I'd be like, sir, I don't have anything. Me not have nothing. But she said, I only have a little oil. And it even gets crazier. Elisha says, all right, you have a little oil. That means you have something. Borrow as many empty jars as you can from your friends and neighbors and go into your house with your sons. Shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil from your flask into the jars and set each aside while it is filled. For me, this story is crazy because it doesn't follow logic. It doesn't make full sense. Or does it? So let's backtrack. She had nothing. She comes to this man that she feels as if could assist her or help her in some way to get some of the creditors off her back. She realizes that she's in a conversation with this man that is saying back to her, what do you have in your house? And she said, I have nothing. She didn't even bother to think too hard because she has nothing. I only have a little oil. You ever, being between grocery shopping, meaning that you have nothing in your house? Think about that times 10. The lady have nothing. This is her last resort. She only have a little oil. And the man of God said to her, that little oil is still something. Take it and go to your neighbors and tell them and gather up as many containers as you can gather up and lock the door behind you and pour
tell me
from
if
your flask
tell me if
into
you
the
see Abby.
jars. Before I go any
Come
further,
and I see her.
does anything in this story jump out to you? Any
You know, see
part
her.
of the story jump out to you? Before I share what jumps out to me,
Tell
I would
Kashif
love
so
to
when I
hear
see her.
what jumps out to you. Just one person. We don't need multiple persons. Just one person. What jumps out to you in this story? You can tell me three things that jumped out to you.
Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy. One person. Just one.
All right,
All right,
I'll give it.
I'll go.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. So somebody will go before me.
I believe Shamilia was speaking. So you can go ahead, Shamilia, and then Jamar, you can go.
Okay, I was saying I was just gonna give it a try. I was saying the man's hopefulness or faithfulness and optimism that the little that she has is something.
Thank you. The other person that wants to speak, you want to quickly go, seeing that you seemed like you were raring to go.
Oh, yeah, night everyone. So, I mean, as you said earlier, the whole series is kind of crazy, because she had nothing and still he's asking her what she has in her house when really and truly she's on her face. Um, but in everything still, one thing that really jumped out at me was the fact that he gave her the instructions, and in the instructions he told her to go inside and lock the door. Like, why lock the door? What does that signify? Um, but yeah, in a
I'm
nutshell.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So
True.
two things we hear jumping out. One, the hopefulness of the God, the man of God, and two, why did he tell her to go in and lock the door? And I want to briefly comment on those two things before we move on. So this man of God, I'm wondering if it's hopefulness or if it is miraculous. I don't even know what to refer to that as. I just know that it's very intriguing. But the part about locking the door really jumped out to me. Let's apply this story to our own lives. Well, I don't know if we have, it's possible to have some millionaires or billionaires on the call, but I'm not there yet. So we may all be in desire of acquiring more, of receiving more, of getting more out of this life. And as a former Andrews girl, I forever will live the life more abundant. And you realize that you're here and you want to get to here. I reach out to somebody and I say, I realized that I needed to move. So the first thing I realized that she did is that she sought help, right? She went to somebody, they said to her, she looked around, found the resources that she had, only a little oil, and she locked the door and she went in. And what I realized about that was that sometimes we're too quick to show persons the process. People don't need to see the process from going from 0 to 100. They don't need to see the process. So yes, you need help. So she went out and she gathered the containers and then she went inside and she did the work. She got the help she needed, but she went inside and she did the work. I don't necessarily have this on my notes to discuss, but I think it's very important to say that we live in a generation that is focused on show and tell, showing what is going on, the process of it going on, how well am I doing, how is the progress going. It is not necessary. She closed the door. That means nobody knows what she went inside with all those jars that she borrowed. Nobody knows what she went inside to do with them. She locked the door and she went to work. I don't know who this is for. If you're taking notes, this is one of the first things I would say. Close the door and do the work. As we continue, um, I love this part and I quickly made a note of it. Every time she got a jar and poured oil in, as long as there was a jar, she continued to pour. As long as there was a jar, she continued to pour. As long as she had a container to pour it into, the oil continued to run. And that right there is even a lesson about money. If you keep on finding various means, various ways to create this income, it will just keep pouring, just keep pouring, just keep pouring. It is when you are finished, when you run out of containers, when you run out of the means, is when the oil will stop pouring. Angel, I see your hand. I still give you an opportunity to share. And then the man of God said to her, with all the resources that you have, go ahead, sell it. This woman went from zero, an ordinary woman,
A
to a
great
great
woman.
woman because she
Hmm.
had now an endless supply of oil to sell. And if oil is worth what it is worth now, well, it's not the same type of oil, but yeah, if it's worth what it's worth now, I'm sure she was very wealthy. So the first point that I would share in what how it is that you identify what is in your house is identify the available resources. What do you have? So in my house, I had makeup and I had catering. It is very interesting to think about because when it is that it was in my house, it wasn't yet at the level that it is at the moment. Oh Lord, you guys want to see some 2018 shots of me doing makeup? You guys want to see some 2018, 2019 shots of me doing makeup? It's not very attractive, but it was in my house. How do you determine what is in your house? What are you interested in? What do you give a double look? What do you give a double take? If it is that you probably hear somebody giving a speech, is it something that within you that 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 you're connected with? Is you see somebody doing something, you see somebody doing makeup, you see somebody fixing a car, you see somebody doing real estate. what calls to you, what beckons to you. Identify what is in your house, because the truth about it is the resources are already there. We were pre-made with these resources. When we started this conversation, we spoke about how adversity would help to develop persons into great people, and I'm sure we can all express various adversities and various situations that we may have found ourselves in. The resources are there. The resources are within you. When it is that I realized that I had an interest in makeup, at first I never grabbed onto it, but when the Holy Spirit really revealed to me that this is what is in your house, I started to make the deliberate efforts towards it. So I started to try to build my kit. I started to try to practice some more, build the confidence to do what I need to do. When I realized that I enjoyed catering, I did what the work. If it is that you needed to do, if you need to do an additional certification, if you need to get
Mm-hmm.
additional counseling, if you need to get mentorship, you do the work. So these are some just random beautiful faces that I picked up from my Beauty of Holiness page of my current makeup faces. One of the things that are in my house. Second thing, by the way, this is not going to be a long, drawn out presentation. I'm going to just make the points and get to it. Second thing, seek help. So after you've identified the resources, so she identified she had oil. The second thing, she went to her neighbors, she got all the containers that she could get. She sought help, and that's the second thing I'd advise you to do. After identifying the resources, seek help. If it is that you need mentorship, get the mentorship that you need.
Mm-hmm.
I am, because there is I think it's Yoruba saying, Ubuntu, I am because we are. Community is what does this. I cannot do this on my own. There's absolutely no way that I can do this by myself. Again, we have some random photos of Abby's Kitchen JA, me recently on Smile, some yummy um oh Lord, I'll eat some of this right now. Loaded steamed fish with shrimp and excitement. Yeah, food, nice. I could not have done this by myself. Some of the people are parts of my community. First, this is you see the handsome guy on the screen. He's taken. It's my husband. Number one, I know that the wife should be the helpmate, but I tell you, as much as I do my best to help him, I tell you, I couldn't do it without my husband. So I want to pause right here. Let's see some clap emojis going up for my husband that supports me with catering, that supports me with makeup. Listen, him carry me go everywhere. Every time when I have to go do a wedding, the makeup at a wedding, every time I have to go anywhere to do makeup, he's the one who chauffeurs me there. Not that I can't drive, but he wants me there to help me set up, to help me be organized. He's there. When you come on to catering, listen. So the business is growing and we're in our growth stage. And the truth be told, though I have a team, a lot of the times the team is my husband and I. Even recently on Wednesday, when I had a catering, and I still go to work, I still have a 9 to 5. I, woke up early. It's almost as if we take shifts. I woke up early, cooked the food. Well, cooked a majority of the meal, and then when I'm at work, I was supposed to, be at work and then come and collect the meal to deliver it to the location. I ended up in a high level management meeting that I could not come out of, an unplanned management meeting that I could not come out of. And I just simply messaged and said, babe, I don't know what to do. I have no clue what to do. I cannot leave. And best believe that the meal got to the location all in one piece. Everything was well packed, everything was organized, everything was done well. I have to big up my husband. Right true, right true, right true. I have to big him up. So you should know what your community is. You may not have a husband, that's okay, but community is important.
Amen.
Second person that I have to big up. So as you know, I'm also an HR officer. Human resource development is one of my passions. This is Trisha Deheny from Employee Learning and Performance Solutions. I could not have developed into the human resource. My eloquence in human resource would not have been developed without this lady. Have to big her up. She is, boy, I don't have the words to tell you right now. She's not even on the call, but she's deserving of her big up. She took me under her wings and she mentored me. And I'm so grateful. I'm forever grateful. Wherever I go in life, wherever I go in this world, I have to big her up. She helped me to develop all that I needed to develop in terms of becoming a well rounded human resource development personnel. And Rachel, she is my makeup mentor. I love her to pieces. I would not have been or become the makeup artist that I am today if it wasn't for her. I spent the time to outline these persons, my husband, Trisha, and Rachel, because I wanted to drive home the fact that I could not have done it alone. Something else that is very popular in our generation is persons referring to themselves as self made. Oh, I did all the work. It was a lot of late nights, it was a lot of early mornings, and I pushed through. And yeah, well, if they did it that way, that's good for them. I could not have done it without these people. Yeah, we big up my parents, big up my God, big up everybody else, but I have to outline these persons who have done well for me. So seek help. And the third point would be to take action and to follow through. So after she gathered the container, she never sit down and say, me never sell oil before. Me never go into this line of business before. Me not think, me not think me can do it. What she do? The man of God said that she's supposed to sell the oil. She sold the oil. This is again some photos of me as corporate trainer, carrying out human resource development. She went ahead and she sold the oil. And I'm saying this to say you may be sitting on the resources that you have simply because you feel as if you're not there yet. You're not sure. You do it scared. I want to say to somebody today, do it scared. Do it uncertain. Don't wait until it's perfect. Do it unsure, do it uncertain, and as you grow, you will find that sweet spot. Because the thing about it is, if you are waiting for the perfect moment, you will waste time while you could have just started and do what you're doing, and then some way, somehow, you will find yourself into that perfect moment. And even that perfect moment is just for a moment. I just want to say to somebody, start. You know the resources that you have. You know what it is that you need to accomplish. You know the community that can help you to achieve it. Start. Make no excuses for it. And though and something that I want to drive home is the point of the pouring out of the oil. So the more that I work, it's something I realize, and I'm nowhere near where I need to get. But something I'm realizing is that money loves money. Money loves money. Money attracts money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the more that you pour, the more that you push, the more that you organize, the more that you plan, the more that you do what you need to do, for some reason there's just a pulling factor that allows a multiplying effect, right? So I started off, my catering, doing my little cookouts. The first real catering that I can remember doing is my friend's bridal shower, and oh God, people love the meal. But even before we got to that point, I used to have, cookouts to help me, cover the cost of when I was doing my masters. And my husband would, not, well, he was my boyfriend. He wasn't even my boyfriend. He was my friend at the time. Would encourage me to say, yeah, this can become a thing, And I took the opportunity and I ran with it. And today, now I'm doing catering. So start and you'll figure it out as you go. And the last thing that I must mention is time management. So yes, I have community. Yes, I strategize. Yes, I plan, but you must manage your time. You must know you have to make time for rest. You have to make time for the people that matter. You have to make time to develop your relationships and your friendships, but you have to understand that you have to balance your time. So I'll have days where I'm doing catering, I'm doing makeup, and I have something related to HR to do, but you just have to make sure that you're organizing yourself, you write it down, you put it in your calendar, and you make it work. I hope that that truly sums up what it really means to find out what is in your house, balance your and help to balance how I balance, sorry, my career and entrepreneurship. And a famous quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that has been imprinted in me from I was a child by my father, which says, if it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, sweep streets as Michelangelo paint picture, sweep streets as Beethoven composes music. And he goes on, with the gist being, whatever you find yourself to do it to the best of your ability. Any questions?
Ainsley is burning with a question. So I think you should take Ainsley first and then
Go
we take
ahead.
the others.
Go ahead, Ainsley. Go ahead. Thank you also, guys. Thanks for the claps in the chat. Thank you. Go ahead, Ainsley.
This, yeah, what I'm saying. Like, yeah, some pictures still. Some me have my picture in my head too, you know. But yeah, me not reach the goal yet still. But what me try to do, me still a press on, man. If me try to get some some course. I just have one more course I want to do. Just final course I want to do. To just make me my career push. But skill is very important still. A trade is very important, and you have people where can motivate you, because these times now them people hard to find.
Mm,
They hard to find. There are people where you take your yeah, you want to do business like you want to do a business with them, and them take your money and they use the money and they try to style you.
Hmm.
So what I'm trying to say is this: you have to find some, you have to find people and the right resources so you can push your goal ahead.
I get what you're saying. Sometimes it may be difficult to find the right persons, but the truth about it is, once it is that you're on the path, things just seem to fall into place. You're gonna get no's, you're gonna get a lot of uncertainty. It's not gonna be easy. But once you start, as you go along, you figure it out.
Okay.
Mhm. I see another hand up. You can go ahead.
Yes, hi, good night again. So, first of all, thank you so much for all the information. It was very enlightening. The title of the webinar really stood out to me, the navigating or balancing rather career and entrepreneurship, which is something I really see in my lifestyle because I'm so ambitious and I want it all, right? So I strive to become inspirational, that quote unquote great man, but I'm a woman, right? The career path that I'm seeking now is very challenging and male dominated. So, in the future, if it's God's will, with my hard work right now, I want to become a pilot. But then now,
Mm.
this entrepreneurship thing just seems so lovely and so appealing, and financial freedom and all that good stuff. So something that stood out to me in the webinar that that you spoke about is the resources. And for me, I usually just say, that's my hands, that's my brain and the thoughts that's in my brain. But no, I have to recalculate and reanalyze everything because it has to be more than that. I don't know makeup, but I need to really look at the skills I have in my back pocket and utilize them for my greatness. So that's just, I don't know if that was a question. But thank you. It was awesome. I have to log off now, but thanks.
No problem. And I appreciate your comments.
Miss, one thing, when I cut
Hmm.
you, oh, the I saw that you said when you finish this, you
Sorry, I'm not hearing you.
how do you circle?
Ainsley, we're not hearing you. You might have to repeat the question.
Do you hear me?
Hearing you now.
Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you now. I don't think Ainsley's hearing us. Okay.
Okay, if there are no other questions, that would be it for my presentation. Thank you so much for having me on. I really hope you were impacted in some way and that you left with something, you left with some gem as we continue to push forward to become our best selves in this life and in this time.
All right, Abby, thank you so much. I know that I learned a lot. It was quite interesting. But we have some questions. I think persons now are not getting so shy. So they're asking their questions. Tajay, you can go ahead if you still have a question. Tajay, Roland? No, yes. Okay. Ainsley, are you back? So that you still have a question.
Hello, good night. You hear
Oh,
me?
okay. Yes, Tajay, you can go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, Tajay, hearing you.
Okay, are you hearing me?
Yes, hearing you,
Yes, we're
Tajay.
hearing you.
All right, so it was a great presentation again. I must congratulate you guys for that. You guys have stated that we should risk our decisions and anything that we do, we should always risk it to have a better expectation. Talking about risking, what are the coverage you will guys advise, or how can we risk a coverage that we know that will not, defeat us in
So you went in and out, but what I understand from what you're asking is why would you leave sure for unsure or comfortable for uncertainty? Is that the question really?
Well, his question is here, so I'll just read it. He said,
Yes, exactly.
okay.
Okay. All right. So, that is one of the reasons I started the presentation the way I did, referring to the ordinary versus the great man. Not everybody can be great. It's just the fact. It's not. It's even Kevin made reference to the fact that even scientifically, the outliers are usually the great men. Great men aren't a dime a dozen. They're the ones, as you often hear, it's lonely at the top. The higher you go, is the less persons you find up there. So the truth about it, not many people. There are not many great people. When you compare the ordinary to the great, we realize it's a small percentage. That would speak to the risk. So it's gonna be hard. I'm sure the first time Albert Einstein came up with the idea to say, I want to invent. I probably he didn't even know what to refer to it as, but he's the one who invented the light bulb. I'm sure it was crazy. I'm sure it made no sense, right? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm sure it made no sense, but there had to be a level of risk. Let's go back to the first slide with the great men that I identified. They had to do something. They had to risk something. Mahatma Gandhi went on fasting until he was became nothing, until he died just for peace. There had to be some risk. Martin Luther King, he had to risk something. So every great man or woman that we can think about, there had to be some risk. So it's not whether how it is that you leave sure or certain for uncertain. It is, will you? Are you crazy enough? Are you daring enough? Are you that fierce to do that, to jump off in the deep? And risking it, there's no guarantee in risking it. Absolutely no guarantee in risking it. Sometimes you fail. As a matter of fact, you fail more than you win. But that is the reality you have to face if it is that you want to be great. And it's also okay to be ordinary. It's okay if you want to be ordinary. If that's the life that you want to live, it's okay. But to take the risk is what will make you stand out and what will make you different.
Did she answer your question, Tajay? Okay, great. All right, Ainsley, are you back? Or 'cause I'm seeing your hand still raised. All right, Ainsley, if anything, you can just type your question in the chat and I'll ensure that Abby gets it. All right. So if there are no more questions, Abigail, thank you again so much for taking the time because you are quite the busy one. And I really do appreciate you, sharing these nuggets with the persons that are listening. And even though I do not have, you know, I don't balance entrepreneurship with a 9 to 5. If I ever think of going into that direction, I believe what you spoke about tonight would be very helpful in me, making that step. So thank you so, so much. Um, if there are any questions or if you want to check out, you know, Abby's makeup or her food, guys, I've had her food and let me tell you, amazing, amazing, amazing. So if you have any events that you need to be catered, you can look her up at Abby's Kitchen JA. And I'm just gonna go ahead and add that to the chat so that you guys have it. Let me ensure I spelled it properly. And also her makeup page at Beauty of Holiness. Ensure I spell that one correct as well.
Underscore underscore.
Oh, underscore underscore, sure. That looks right. Yeah. So as I said, guys, if you have any more questions, you can reach out to us via email, and I will ensure that Abigail gets it and she'll respond, and I'll share the response via email. Or as I said, if you want, to check out her two businesses, you can go right ahead. And if it is that you want to try something, but I know that sometimes, especially as young persons, we struggle with imposter syndrome. That's something that I can attest to. You have a fear of failing, and it is it's quite interesting because we have to fail. Because if we don't fail, how are we going to master the craft, or how are we going to grow as individuals? So do not be afraid to fail. Take that risk. Look what's in your house. If it is that you like to cook, what can you do with that passion of wanting to cook? You can go to Heart and get a certificate, get some training. If you like to bake, same thing. If you're interested in makeup, if you're interested in hair, doing hair, don't be afraid. Don't sit on the talents that you have because you're afraid to fail. All right, so I'm just adding to what Abigail said basically. But thanks again, guys, for joining. And please remember to follow us, the Lesma Ellis Foundation, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. This webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel. So in case there, things that you might have missed, you can go back to that video to check out what was discussed. Also, yes, so we have a 2000 um gift certificate to give away. The person that actually would be the recipient, she logged off because she was the one that participated the most. um Her name is, I don't want to mispronounce her name, Shamilia. So I will reach out to Shamilia via email and let her know that she is the winner of the gift voucher. You see why it's very important to participate, guys, because you win little goodies at the end. So we will see you guys at our next webinar. It will be next month and it will be surrounding, International Women's Day. So women, gender, it will be very interesting. You can look out for that post, and that registration link will be up next week. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Thanks again for joining. Thanks again, Abby, for sharing, and do have yourself a wonderful rest of the evening.